Hi. So I'm excited for my live today. Welcome. I'm April Kelly. I'm your tarot advisor. And today I'm going to be looking at something a little different. Um, we've been looking at, the different types of tarot readings and whatnot recently. And today I'm excited to look at why. Why do or tarot readers in general, use different packs or decks of tarot cards and oracle cards? So we're going to look at both. I'm going to show you my collection, because it really is a collection, of tarot decks and oracle decks. Now I have more tarot decks, obviously, than oracle decks, but I use both equally. Almost one as much as the other. Tarot just a little bit more than oracle, because oracle really complements well tarot. I've said this in my past videos. So I'm going to be a little, I'm a mom and it's going to show. So I'm going to use this box to put my categories. We have over 40 tabletop games as a family with my husband and 5 boys. So this is just one of my bigger boxes. So I'm using this today. So I'm going to take out a few of my decks. And this is why I have something to put it higher, because on the table you wouldn't see it. So I'm going to put some of these decks here. Oh, this one can go like here. This one can go here because they're smaller. There you go. Here, and here. All right. So you can barely see me, but you will see. I will get rid of them as I go. So we're going to start with the front. Now, let's get into the why. So I'll put these just so that I can be seen a little bit. So why do I use different oracle decks? Let's start with that. Well, I'm not going to use the same oracle deck for a personal clarity reading as I would, let's say, a romantic relationship reading. Why is that? Well, because each deck is made with a certain purpose, if you want. Let's call it a purpose, okay? Let's say the everyday tarot here is the more straightforward, more traditional, and simpler version of a tarot deck. Gets to the heart of what tarot is, and yeah, it's very simple. Okay, and I'm going to spontaneously open up the deck and show you an example. All right, the star, perfect. So see how simple, straightforward, okay? There's nothing much, there's like 3 colors in here. There's nothing super going on. And the star is the 15th, 16th, 17th card of the oracle. Tarot deck. So that means 17. We're at the end of the major arcana here in the star. And it's one of these becoming cards. There's like the last 3 or 4 cards of the major arcana are like reflect the major parts of our life that we have, the person that we are reflects, our strengths, reflects our lessons, and that we've been through a lot, and that this is just the result of our journey, and that our journey is ongoing, and that we're wise enough to know that the journey never finishes. And so the star is like a promise. It's like there's a certain balance that it encourages and whatnot. So without getting too much into the star, because I love this card, but you see how simple and very the intuition really has space to kick in, but at the same time keep it, instead of going in 10 different directions, that this one kind of keeps it straightforward. I really like this deck for simplifying things. All right. And so that's just an example of the kind of deck that would be for someone. This deck is for someone that really wants to keep things simple, It's a great deck to start reading tarot with, getting used to tarot, getting used to the minor arcana, major arcana, and the suits of the minor arcana as well. So just for any of you that are starting tarot, I love this tarot deck. It really, really helps. So we're going to put this aside. I can't spend 2 minutes on each deck, so I'm going to kind of go a little faster. The Spacious Tarot is in the same category as the Urban Tarot. And the reason why I say that is because the Urban Tarot and the Spacious Tarot either go into your fearful, vulnerable side or your beautiful, bright, shining side. So it's kind of like one of those, I call them a shadow deck, because more often than not, even in our light does not exist without our darkness, and our darkness does not exist without our light. And these two decks really get into that beautifully. Now, the Spacious Tarot deck is a little simpler, a little straightforward, a little bit more, leaves a little bit more space to intuition to kind of make the connections, whereas the Urban Tarot, every tarot deck leaves space for intuition, but some of them you really need to dig deep into your intuition, whereas the Urban Tarot has a little bit more direction. The images are a little bit more evocative in the sense that they will guide a little bit more, and they're a little easier to read than, let's say, the Spacious Tarot. But I have to say these are both two of Heartthrob's favorites of mine. So if we get into, so my Light Seer, my Light Seer and the Vice Versa. Okay, now these two decks are this one is, from my experience, is this was my very, very first tarot deck. For those of you that don't know, I started reading tarot with the Light Seer Tarot. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful tarot deck. Now, the reason why I bring the Vice Versa tarot deck is because they both they really get to the heart of things. If you want to, they're a little bit more emotional, a little bit more about relationship, whether it be with yourself or someone else. But also like cuts the crap and will help you connect with what it is you feel inside and actually help you connect with your intuition, which is one of the reasons why I like these so much. So any of you that are still getting familiar with your own intuition and what that is and whatnot, these two decks are beautiful for that. Now, the Vice Versa has two sides to it, which is really awesome. You can use both sides. You can use only one side, depending on what side it turns up on. It's really entirely up to you. All right. So the next decks. Okay, let me see here. Okay, these two. The Muse and the In-Between. Now, the Muse is one of those very feminine decks. It doesn't have to be only for women, but it will get into the feminine. I don't believe there's even one masculine figure in here. This one is really goes into the sensual, goes into our natural, how can I say, intuition, but the feminine side of ourselves. Now, each of us has a masculine and a feminine, and the perfect example is masculine is, do, take responsibility, protect and whatnot. And the feminine is a bit more intuitive, motherly, right? And so the reason why I put the In-Between in here is because these cards are not just, let's say, in the major arcana, the first card is the Fool, right? And the second card is the, it depends on the deck, I think. But, okay, you know what? Let's take advantage. I haven't opened up another deck. So, let's put this back in. The Magician. See, so I thought so. The Magician is this second card. That's hilarious how that was right there. That's crazy. So this one is the Magician and the High Priestess. So basically, the Magician, right, which is the second card, and the card right after. And so this is a mix of the Magician and the High Priestess. Okay, which is really interesting because I truly believe that all tarot cards are connected. You can connect any card from any part of the minor or major arcana, one to the other, and it would work beautifully depending on the circumstance that they're pulled in, right? And so this deck represents the card itself and the card right after, which is super, super awesome. I love that this deck for that. Oops, I forgot to put the booklet in. Let's do this properly. Okay. So basically, these two are very down to earth, no bullshit. They will pull out the uncomfortableness in a situation, but in a respectful, integrity way of doing it. But it will cut away the bullshit. So kind of the same thing as the Urban Tarot. Urban Tarot cuts away the bullshit. So does the Spacious Tarot, but they do it in, like I said, respectful, integrity way. These two are just a little bit more direct. The other two are a little bit more intuitive, spiritual. These two are very direct, and there's no beating around the bush. So if you're looking for a straight to the point tarot reading, well, these two will do it for you. All right, and the last two in my tarot collection is the Witch Tarot and the Good Tarot. Now, the Good Tarot and the Witch Tarot, funny enough, go a little bit more into the intellectual, spiritual part of it. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes we get too into the emotion and we don't bring in our, because the ideal is to have the balance between our minds, right? Our spirits, our bodies. So mind, body, spirit, and emotion, right? And so these two kind of help you do that. If you want to find something that will pull out from the different aspects of a situation that you're trying to get clarity on, or aspects of your life, or things like that, I think these two would be beautiful for really, pulling from the different aspects. Another one that's kind of like that is the tarot. Sorry, in-between tarot. Yes, the tarot. The in-between tarot kind of does that as well. But once again, these two will be very, the roles, okay? It will speak of, the roles that you play in the situation, or the other person plays, or the, because we're creatures of emotion, okay? We are emotion. But the trick is to not let our emotion take us over, to not become the emotion itself, but to allow emotion to flow through us without it taking the wheel and making impulsive decisions, or saying things that we don't necessarily mean, that we would regret later or whatnot. So voila for these two. So those are my tarot decks. I hope that you've enjoyed all of my tarot decks, and I'm excited to bring out my oracle decks. So let's do that. All right, so oracle. Remember, oracle decks are kind of like tarot is like the fine print of a situation, and oracle is a little bit more of a headline. Oracle will also go into sometimes what triggers you, something that's a little bit, it'll be, okay, and I'm speaking from experience here. So I think oracle can really put its finger on the area in your life that you're struggling with, or that you're really thriving in, if that makes sense to you. So it'll be a bit more, circumstantial, if you want. It'll talk about the role, your role, but often in your life, or that you've felt that you've had, that won't necessarily be what it really is. And so anyway, I'm just giving you examples of what oracle cards, can do for you. So let's start with, I'm going to start with the Ancestor Spirit Oracle deck and the Goddess Temple. So these two are the two that I feel are the most appropriate. Oh, I've got this one here. So these two are very, very, very spiritual. This one goes into the feminine a little bit, and this one goes into the ancestral, but very much inside of who we are and our identity, and how we perceive ourselves contrary to who we really are, because who we think or who we perceive ourselves to be is not usually the most accurate thing in the world. It doesn't mean because we think we are a certain way that we truly are. So these two are, so let's pull one out. I haven't pulled out some cards in the Oracle. So let's give you guys an example. Very, yeah, it's a little fairy-like, this one too. Okay, perfect. So we have the Lady of Avalon, the 9th card of this deck. Okay, and remember, it's not like tarot. There's no major arcana, no minor arcana. These are all, and each oracle deck has its own number of cards. I have some that have 52, 44, 38. Another one is 32. Like, it really, really depends on the deck, and each card is unique in itself, and one deck is not the same as the other. So it's a very different, oracle's even more personalizable than tarot, I feel, because you can really go for what the oracle deck is focusing on. And so the Goddess Temple is a very feminine energy, and I will show you a perfect example of that. And this one is the Lady of Avalon. So as you can see, water is very prominent here. Abundance is very prominent here and whatnot. I won't get too much into the meaning of it. But so this one is a very spiritual, you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your own spirituality. You have to believe in your own intuition, and there can be no space for doubt about, is my spirituality real? What is that spirituality? Like, it allows you to explore that, but there can be no doubt about spirituality in this deck. As you can see, it's a very, very evocative deck. All right, so that's for the two first oracle decks. Now, if I go into these two. Okay. Now these two, funny enough, actually the one that would go with this one is the Moonology deck as well. Now, the reason why I say these decks are similar, and now remember, each deck is unique in itself, but let's say this one is my most recent acquisition, the Power of Animal Oracle deck. And then you have the Native Spirit, which is very recent as well. I've had this one, but my Moonology deck is one of the decks that I've had the longest. Not the longest, but almost. And so when you look at these decks, now this is all about moon phases and moon spirituality and how our bodies respond to the different phases of the moon or the different times of year that the moon is in and whatnot. And that I really believe that the moon has a very strong impact on our bodies, just like it does on our planet. And so it's something that I really wanted to get myself to kind of connect a little better, a little easier with the moon, because it's one of those natural phenomena that I really connect with, is the moon. So this is for this deck. And then when you look at these two, now the Power of Animal Oracle cards, which is what is really powerful about this deck, is that each animal represents either a part of ourselves, and we're all beings of spirit beings, right? And we all have a spirituality, whether we're connected to it or not. Something I really believe in. And so when we have that, each animal will represent something to you, and it'll be a little different to me, right? And so each animal, like let's say an elephant has long memory, a lot of patience, but can be stubborn and can be, can bulldoze through things and not have heard or listen to the whole situation and whatnot. So it really depends on the animal that you pull and how it connects to you and your situation. And then we have the Native Spirit Oracle deck. Now, I wanted to open this one just to kind of give you an idea. And let's pull something. Spirit Fire. So Spirit Fire, what's really cool about, see how these images are actually really beautiful and simple at the same time, and it gives room to, like, what is Spirit Fire to you? I'm someone that fire is one of my elements. I have a big personality, but at the same time, I've worked on myself so much that I like to believe, anyway, that I have a lot more patience than I ever have before. Being a mom has helped with that a lot. But being, working with families and their youth for over 15 years, being a life coach, youth outreach worker, and intervention worker has really helped in that aspect of my life. But Spirit Fire can also be something that we need to look a little deeper inside of ourselves and whatnot. And so this card is simple enough to help me connect what that is in my life. What am I supposed to be observing that's deeper in my life, right? So I just kind of wanted to give you an example, and that one's a beautiful one of how simple but beautiful this deck can be. So, I left a card right there. Okay, and so we have our two last decks. Now, those of you that have listened along for a few of my other videos, if not all, my Sacred Destiny Oracle was the first Oracle deck I ever got. My heartthrob, my favorite. And the Enchanted Map Oracle deck is another really, really interesting. Now, these two have a tendency to really put their finger on what it is, either to congratulate, to recognize, to bless you with, or to get to the heart of what it is you're either ignoring, not dealing with. It's a fear, an insecurity. It can be something that's not serving you anymore that you still have in your life. It'll really help get to the heart of that. Now, since I've already used the Sacred Destiny Oracle deck in one of my other videos, I'm going to open this one up, and it'll be my last deck that I'm looking at for the video. I do not have it in here, though. I have it in one of my bags. Is it this one? No, that's the Spacious Tarot. So it's this one, right? No. Where did I put them? Oh. I have them. Okay, so this is it. So I keep it in here because it's one of those decks that I use a little bit more often. So let's see. Okay, so this one's perfect. I'm just pulling one just to give you an example. So here we have the card Balancing Act, which is always the most precarious. How do we find balance in our lives? Is that even possible? Of course it is. But it's something that needs to be worked on a regular basis in the day-to-day. It is not something that once you have it, you've got it and you're good. If you do not, it's like any relationship. If you don't maintain it, if you don't take care of it, if you don't stay in love, respect, and integrity with it, then it's not going to be, and it won't serve you anymore. So here, as you can see, you've got is that a ring? No, it's like a bubble. Oh my gosh, it's almost like when you blow bubbles, and then there's the ship that's on it, and it's, someone's holding it. So there's so many aspects about balance that are almost an illusion. Balance is something that, how when a woman is pregnant and her center of gravity is constantly changing. Well, I believe that that's how we are in life in general. When we are in a certain past part of our life, that balance will work for us. But then as soon as something changes, or we change, or there's a shift, that balance doesn't serve us anymore. And so we have to refine that balance again, just like a pregnant woman who has to find her balance because her baby is growing. And so we are all always growing. We're always, I'd like to believe, want to evolve and better ourselves and love ourselves better and find more inner peace. I know that sounds a little cliche, but it's true. More inner peace and just a healthier relationship with ourselves so that we can have them with others. So this is our last card that I wanted to show you. And I hope you've enjoyed looking at the different tarot decks and why. Why do we use the different tarot decks? Well, different kinds of readings require different kinds of tarot decks, and you need to follow your intuition. What will work for me for a love, let's say a love relationship or a romantic relationship reading, what deck will work for me will not necessarily work for you in that circumstance. And the same thing for, let's say, a shadow reading. There's something inside that you're just absolutely stuck and you can't get to the heart of it, and you're frustrated and you don't know where to go. You've tried a few things, nothing's working. Well, my intuition, I would go with either the Urban Tarot deck, the Spacious Tarot deck, or the in-between tarot deck. I could go for the Vice Versa tarot deck. So it really depends on intuition and how I'm feeling led to choose which deck to use, right? So it really is according to the person. And it's one of the reasons why I go online and I look at the cards of the tarot decks that I'm looking or possibly going to buy, because I'm not going to buy it and then, I didn't like this and we're wasting money and it's wasteful and whatnot. So I usually go online, look at the cards of the deck and see if they evoke, if they're evocative, and if I connect with them. And if I do, then I go and buy it. So this is how I've chosen most of my decks, Oracle and Tarot decks. I hope this has brought you value. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you that love my content and are here regularly, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Always appreciated. Thank you for being here. And I hope that you've enjoyed the Tarot and Oracle exploration today. I did. So I will see you. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I will not be doing tarot readings from July 4th to July 22nd. I will be on vacation and I will see you nice and tanned when I come back. So just letting you know, but once again, between July 4th and July 22nd, I will be gone and away and enjoying some beach time. So take care, guys, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye.